Joining us this morning is former Whitewater independent counsel Robert Ray. And Robert, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for weighing in here.
Good morning.
Your expectations for today?
I don't think there'll be any bombshell testimony. I mean, obviously there's a fair amount of public interest. It'll be followed closely, but I don't think we'll see anything much new that we don't already know or hasn't been released now with the statement by Jim Comey that was released by the committee yesterday afternoon.
So why all of the sort of noise around it then, if you think it's just going to be more of the same?
Well, because the Democrats are pushing the impeachment line. I think I agree with people who are responsible who have looked at this, that there's not an obstruction case to be made. That was not obviously provable and not the president's intent. I think the president is right to say that he feels vindicated. He was assured 3 times, in fact, as he previously said, by Director Comey, who's now confirmed it, that he was not and is not under investigation. I mean, I think we kind of start from there and go forward. All of this nonsense about obstruction and impeachment and so forth really ought to be put to one side, and the country ought to get past that in a hurry. The investigators ought to get on with the task and, determine one way or another whether there's any evidence of collusion, which is really the whole purpose of the investigation to begin with. Right. And we ought to do that expeditiously and get it done in time, that this doesn't, put a cloud over the administration, which the president has every right to expect. Yeah.
As you look at this new testimony, and also keeping in mind the Clinton investigation, what can we say about Comey's job performance, his obligation to follow the traditional protocols of law enforcement, of investigation, of prosecution? And I'm looking at he's talking about this duty to report publicly. Is that the job of the FBI director?
Well, you raise a legitimate point about what traditionally is done, but let's sort of start with some historical precedent here. The notion that the FBI director doesn't have any communications or shouldn't have any communications with the President of the United States is a rather recent historical development. That was not historically true. The FBI director works for the President. Right. The fact that the President would expect some degree of loyalty to his administration is not completely a ridiculous notion. With regard to what the FBI director is free to comment about, yes, Department of Justice protocol ordinarily, an emphasis on the word ordinarily, is to not comment about a pending investigation, and if there's going to be comment, it to be ordinarily done by the Deputy Attorney General or the Attorney General. And further, that communications with the President regarding a pending investigation or with the White House should be routed through the Deputy Attorney General's office. But remember, that's a relatively recent development, and the emphasis should be on ordinarily. I mean, Jim Comey was faced in the previous administration with a rather, unfortunate development, which is the actions of the then Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, essentially compromised her with regard to the investigation of Hillary Clinton as a result of that meeting on the tarmac with former President Bill Clinton. As a result of that, I think Jim Comey legitimately was concerned about whether or not he could trust the highest levels of the Justice Department, and said so. Now, he otherwise has an obligation. Although
will he say that today? Will he be questioned about that?
I expect that he will.
We're all talking about Trump saying lay off. Did Loretta Lynch say lay off the Hillary Clinton investigation?
I expect he's going to have something to say about that. I mean, I don't know what the answer is, but I imagine that he'll be questioned.
He should also be questioned about any potential unmasking of American citizens in requests by the Obama administration, what he knows about that and what the FBI has looked into that.
Yeah, whatever he does.
Everything went on under Obama.
Everything is wide open, I would think.
No, it's fair game, I think. And I mean, the Hill should recognize they probably have. This is their one opportunity to question Jim Comey, before we move on to the next phase, which is, the appointment of a new FBI director, and we go forward from there.
Do you think he's lost credibility going into this testimony after Dan Coates and Mike Rogers said they didn't feel pressured by President Trump in any way?
Well, look, it's all in the eye of the beholder, and, look, both men could be right. The president, suggesting that, he certainly didn't ask the FBI director to stop any investigation. And whatever the president's hopes and intimations were with regard to Mike Flynn may have made Jim Comey feel awkward and uncomfortable. But being in a position of being awkward and uncomfortable with the President of the United States does not make an obstruction case.
More awkward than your boss basically meeting with the husband of the person you're going to interview 2 days later? Is he more awkward than that?
Well, and that's the point, Maria. I mean, there were awkward and uncomfortable moments clearly during the Obama administration as well. So to answer your point originally, what ordinarily is the case, we don't live in ordinary times. This is a difficult position to be in. He was in difficult position to be in the Obama administration. He faced a similarly difficult position to be in the Trump administration, and now we move on. We've got a new FBI director, or we will have a new FBI director.
I will raise just one issue, though. Do you get a portrayal of President Trump and working with him that would prevent talented people from wanting to go work there in the future? I mean, the Wall Street Journal editorial refers to President Trump. At the worst, Mr. Comey's account of Mr. Trump reveals a willful and naive narcissist. But that's not new information.
I don't buy all that.
I don't know if you wrote that or not.
If you get an opportunity to serve the country at the highest levels, who wouldn't want to do that, really? You don't think there's enough qualified people in this country who would like to serve? Heck, I'd like to serve. I mean, you come a point where you're given an opportunity, the president asks, who says no to that? I think all this other nonsense about the first, 100, 150 days and whatever, and how difficult it's been, baloney. Is President Trump a hands-on person? Did he meet and have lots of communications with the FBI director? Yes, I thought the most remarkable thing about the statement was how few times Jim Comey had direct contact with President Obama. That was what was unusual.
Yeah, really great analysis, Robert. Thanks so much for coming in today.
Thank you.
Robert Ray joining us there. Keep it